Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Maqbool with you at PTV World. In today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the preparations for the upcoming general elections in the country and talk about various important topics. Of course, a lot of what we have discussed centered around earlier the timing of the elections, and then of course the credibility with regards to how transparent, free and fair the elections will be. And also related to that, we're now going to be focusing on inclusivity in these elections. While we talk about a level playing field for the political parties and the candidates who are going to be contesting these elections, it is also important to keep in mind that it is not just the political representation of different parties that is important when we talk about equal opportunities for all, but gender also plays a very important role, and this is something that needs to be reflected in the election process as well, and a manner in which the participation of women from different fields, from different religions is there. Of course, there is a way forward with regards to reserved seats, especially for this particular purpose. But at the same time, we know that despite that, the participation of women is very low. We know, of course, that the numbers this year round are much more encouraging than what they were back in 2018 and 2013. And the number of candidates, female candidates who have filed their nomination papers are far higher than the previous two elections, yet they only account for 11% of the total candidates who have filed their nomination papers, which means that the political process is still very largely, it is proportionate, and so a lot more needs to be done, not just by the political parties or the ECP, but the general public as well, in ensuring that women are able to participate in the elections just as men as any other gender. And so we're going to be taking a look at how exactly will that be ensured and what sort of process needs to be put in place even now and what can be done for future elections. At the same time, we're also going to be taking a look at different measures that political parties take and what sort of issues are being raised and concerns are being raised, such as those that are emanating from PMLN and the female workers from within the party, who seem to be talking about a lot in terms of the criteria of selection for women on reserved seats, particularly in terms of giving priority to those women with influential backgrounds, rich backgrounds, or of course related to any political party member or decision maker. So we're going to be taking a look at all of this in terms of what is going on and how exactly will we be able to make sure that there is more participation. At the same time, we're also going to be focusing on the entire process of the elections, particularly with regards to digitization, which is something, of course, that perhaps every institution is moving forward with. And the ECP, of course, has also talked about the way that they're going to be proceeding forward and have said that their operational and IT systems are satisfactory and they're working and they are completely operational and are fully prepared to execute the elections. At the same time, we also know that there are concerns being raised in terms of why the electoral rolls have not been uploaded, why they're not publicly disseminated, and why is it that these lists have not been made available to the candidates. And so we're going to be taking a look at what sort of measures are still required to make sure that the entire process is in fact as digitized as it could be and can help the candidates moving forward, and what sort of costs are we paying, not just in monetary terms, but also in terms of execution of the election process, and how exactly we're going to move forward with regards to the digitization of the election process. So this is going to be our focus in the show today. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farrukh Pitafi and Raja Faisal. We've also been joined online by Dr Shezra Mansab Ali, who's a former MA from Nankana, Sahib. Thank you very much, Dr Shezra, for joining us and being a part of the discussion. And I'm so glad you're here to talk to us about an issue which is very, very important to all of us in terms of what is going on and how we need to move forward with increasing inclusivity in our electoral and political processes. And so given the current numbers this year of the nomination papers, we can say, of course, that we have progressed from the previous two elections. However, we're still far behind in terms of what we're actually aiming at. Only 11% of the total candidates are female. And so I want your experience and your understanding of the process to help us know what exactly is the missing link still that needs to be looked at and paid attention to so that we can further improve these numbers.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, gender disparity in all walks of life is a reality, not only in Pakistan, but all over the world. This is something that has been studied in all parliamentary democracies, and it's been found lacking. And in Pakistan, of course, with the patriarchal culture and the norms, and unconscious biases, maybe entrenched prejudices. This Trying to achieve gender parity in parliament is going to be a very difficult and a long process. If we look at how tickets are given to candidates, if we look at how candidates are chosen in constituencies, there's a very strong bias against women. There's a lot of echo, so I can't really. Could you do something about that?
We're going to try to. I can hear you perfectly fine. Let's see if it's going to get better. My team is saying they're on it and they're going to fix it. So let's try again. Yes, Dr. Shezra, continue.
What I was saying is that short-term measures have been taken. For example, giving a certain quota of women's seats, which have worked. We have at least been able to be more inclusive in the parliament, in that women have been taken into parliament. But these are short-term measures. In the long term, one obviously wants more on-ground women representation, where women can actually get tickets from political parties, go to the voters, have interaction with the voters, and then represent them in the parliament. So that is something that we and all political parties need to be working on. I think some of the suggestions that PMLN is going to try and work on is not only confidence building measures. Women lack the confidence to actually come forward to try and represent their community. We have tried in the previous years to encourage women to take part in the local government elections, which is easier because it's on a shorter scale, and we try to be more inclusive in the local government elections. But there's a lack of confidence, there's lack of resources, there's lack of training for women, which makes it difficult for them to come forward. I have worked in PMLN as a youth coordinator, and I've been to all parts of Punjab, where these are the things that I have witnessed in when we're trying to encourage young girls to come forward to take part. They're very keen to do it. They're very keen to take part in the political process, but they lack the resources. There are cultural norms and restrictions that that are upon them. It's difficult for them to come out, go out of their houses, be in public spaces. So all of these things are restrictive. So I think all of this needs to be worked upon.
Right, absolutely. And Dr. Shezra, I understand that there are a lot of hindrances in terms of the culture or in terms of inherent biases, as you were saying. And so it's very hard to be able to work through with this challenge. But I want to understand, despite these challenges that exist in the society inherently, what is it that political parties can still do to overcome them or to facilitate and support the women and encourage them to participate? And if there are measures that have been taken previously as well, do you think that we've done enough to get more women on board the political process? Have political parties really made this a priority that they need to have women participation?
I don't think so. I think that we've done far less than should be done. But as I was saying, this is not just Pakistan. This is all over the world. This is something that every country is working upon. If you look at other parliaments, there's also lack of representation of women. Pakistan is fortunate in that we had a woman prime minister before most of the more advanced countries even had it. Women in PMLN, for example, Begum Kulsoom Nawaz was out on the streets. She was working for democracy when Mian Nawaz Sharif was incarcerated. Now we have Maryam Nawaz Sharif, who's an icon for people. She encourages women to come forward. She's worked on getting women wings more, to expand the women wings, to have more women in the MSF, And so that is how we are working towards that. I think some of the things that should be done is, apart from having the quota system where women come, and by the way, the women on reserved seats work uh, work very well in parliaments, and most of the laws that are passed, especially for women, are done by women caucuses, where women are able to work across party lines. We have women caucuses in different parliaments where women are able to have laws and pass laws that are more geared towards the health of women, education of women, mother and child health, and things like that. I think one more thing that should be done, I'm a very strong advocate for that, is that there should also be a system in place which ensures that a certain amount of representation is given to women, and this is something that each party can only do within themselves, to have their own constitution, so that certain seats, apart from the reserved seats, there should be certain tickets, a certain percentage of tickets which should be ensured are given to women. So even though this will be a difficult process, it will be difficult to work through this process, I feel that eventually, when women candidates are sought out, when women candidates are encouraged, and maybe special training sessions are held for them, slowly but surely we will get there.
Right, Dr. Shezra, not to take away from any of the women that you mentioned earlier, but I want to understand whether or not you think that the female workers in different political parties have been able to carve out an identity for themselves, and are not just moving forward under the political cloud of the men that lead the parties.
Sorry, I didn't get your question.
My question is with regards to the female workers in different political parties. Do you think that they have been able to carve out an identity for themselves and are not just working under the cloud of the men who are leading the parties?
Yes. Well, I can't say that that's not true. Men do have clout. This is not about political parties. This is about our culture, about our society. Men do have clout. We do have a patriarchal culture. It's difficult for women to get out of their houses without some sort of male protection. It's very difficult for women to have access to the resources that men have. So it's not just giving women the opportunity. It's also all these factors that clock in, and only then can a person reach. So yes, women do are sort of forced to work with men, to they're forced to seek resources, to seek protection from men. It's very difficult for women of all ages to be out of their houses. They have children to take care of, they have their homes to take care of. So these things, these restrictions are there, and it's an uphill task to come to the point where slowly but surely women reach that place where they're able to maybe work for themselves, where they're given special maybe allowances, where they can look after their children, look after their homes, and yet be able to be part of the public space. So all these things need to be taken into consideration.
Absolutely, Dr. Sahib, I'm glad that you're actually pointing out the gender disparity and systemic issues as well. But we are right now talking about the cream of the cream, the elite, the electables that actually have the power to win an election. And there, at least, one would have thought that perhaps there is more emancipation and more empowerment rather than the overall society. But I'm not even concerned about that. Let us talk about your party. When it was fully in power, between 2013 and 18, whatever happened in parliament, but your first cabinet hardly had any woman representation. Yeah. There were parliamentarians, but you did not actually, the party did not empower them. Later on, we got a few but we haven't seen that schema changing in most of the elections. Why would that be?
Yes, I agree with you. There are, first of all, very few elected women in the parliament, and of the few that there are, even in all the parties, there are very few elected women. And if you look at the ratio of men to women in the parliament, that is the ratio then that is continued in all the standing committees, for example, in all the decision making process, like ministers and all that. Although I completely agree with you that, and lots of studies have also shown that women in more empowered positions, women in positions where decision making, they can do important decision making, is extremely, it works for the betterment of the country, of the society, of everything. But unfortunately, I agree with you that that is not something that we are, as a PMLN, is satisfied with. It's not that, we think that this is not something that needs to be improved upon. However, that is something that we are working upon. It does need a lot of improvement. And as you're saying, PMLN has tried. It's one of the parties that has tried to give important positions to women, ministerial positions or standing committees or other places of decision making.
Dr. Shezra, there's also concern that have been raised quite recently by many female workers within the PMLN, especially with regards to the criteria for reserved seats. And there again, we've seen that it seems that priority has been given to women of more influence, women who are related to the senior officials of the party, or women with rich backgrounds. And I want your take on whether or not this has something to do with the selection criteria, and how valid are the concerns of the very loyal female workers that they say are part of the party for quite long and that they need to be rewarded equally.
But I think, choosing women for the reserved seat quota, it takes a lot of consideration. Many of the women who are chosen, they might be relatives of members, but they have also worked a lot. They've contributed a lot to the democratic process. They've worked in all different kinds of processes in the parliament. And I agree that women workers should be given a chance, and PMLN does try to be more inclusive.
They also include a lot of PTI turncoats, and that seems to also be creating rifts within the party, female workers.
Well, I think, there is that attitude that women who have been working for PMLN for a long time feel that if somebody from a different party has joined PMLN, so, there is that resentment. But I think that women who are in a position to contribute meaningfully to the parliamentary process, to the lawmaking process, to the decision-making process, those are the women who are chosen. Even if a person decides that they're not happy in the party, they're not getting the sort of comfort or the sort of encouragement or the sort of space to grow in one party, I feel that as far as women are concerned, because there's in any case so few opportunities for women, so I think that certain leeway needs to be given to women if they feel that they've not been given the chance to grow as much as they could in one party, and they decide to choose, shift to another party, and they can contribute meaningfully and they have worked hard. I think that they deserve a chance in this party as well. There's always, of course, going to be a resentment because there's so many women who do work hard, who do stand by the party in hard times, who have stood by like a rock with the party when it was going through a difficult time, and they would be, they would want to be given a chance in the reserved seats. But I feel that it's not just the reserved seats. There are also so many other opportunities, especially now on the social media platforms, in the different different wings of the party that Maryam Nawaz Sharif Sahaba is working upon. So there are lots of opportunities, and I think we are trying to make sure that every person is dealt with on merit.
Exactly. Dr. Shezra, are you trying to say that women who have actually come from PTI, they have more to contribute rather than the women who have been, aligned with PMLN for a long time? And if it is so, then what is so special about them? What kind of, nourishment they were getting in PTI that they had so much to contribute?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that since you said that people resent that turncoats are being given an opportunity, there might be one or two. I'm not sure, but I'm just talking in general terms, not in terms of PTI in particular or any special nourishment that they've been getting from PTI as such. I'm just talking in general terms of women who might decide to change their party and come to another party where they feel that they might get better opportunities. So this is just a general statement.
If somebody is trying to change the party, shouldn't they be starting from zero in the new party rather than getting on the top straight away?
Well, some of the women who joined our party was when our party was going through its struggling phase. It's not as if they've just joined now and been chosen immediately. Women who joined PMLN was perhaps 2 years back. Like that. So that was when our party was going through a very difficult phase, and other party, the previous party, PTI, was doing very well. So those women stood by PMLN in its difficult phase also.
Dr. Shezra, you have rightly pointed out earlier that there should be certain seats where women should be allowed and obviously promoted to get nomination paper registered, and of course they should be the candidate for them special seats. When I say special seats, the seats where women contesting the elections is not considered as a taboo. I'm talking about the larger cities of Pakistan, the urban areas. Of course, in them areas you can find that the women candidates, they can grab on votes. Like there are different seats in Islamabad, Lahore, Karachi. So if it is so, when would PMLN initiate that in coming future?
And by the way, Dr. Sahib, since you actually brought up this great idea that there should be some kind of quota or assurance that certain people, certain number of women are given tickets on general seats. Let me ask you, because your manifesto is still being written, is there possibility of a commitment in that?
Well, yes, our manifesto is in the process of being made, and I have made this suggestion to the party, and I think it will be considered very seriously. At least I think our party should pioneer this kind of a system where certain candidature is ensured to women, so that women are then encouraged. It'll be an automatic process when there is this need to find women candidates. I'm sure that many women candidates are there. They're willing to come forward. They want to come forward, but because of again certain norms in our culture, they are overshadowed by men, perhaps in the family, or perhaps in the tribal systems or things like that. Not only in the urban areas, I believe that even in rural areas, there are lots of women who have worked hard, who have worked on different tiers of the party, and who are now ready to contest election. At least they should be allowed to contest election, and the people should be given a chance to vote for women, especially since women are more than 50% of the population. And this is my personal experience, that women feel much more comfortable in interacting with women leaders and telling them their problems. And when a woman gives voice to those problems, a lot of difficulties are solved, I believe, since a woman related issues, child related issues, health-related issues, education-related issues, I believe, much more easily understood by women when women are able to express them.
Right. Absolutely, Dr. Sahib. You were referring to women being more than 50%, and I can, confirm that at least in my house, there's more than 75%. I have two daughters, and my wife is also there. So, and they are very influential. But we have to talk about another very important issue that actually matters on the election day, and that is access to vote by women, given to women. And that is something that we keep on seeing, that in many areas, jirgas or panchayats actually forbid women to vote. And then there is this problem of gender mobility on the election day, that women don't have anybody to take them to polling booth. So is there a way to actually, address these issues as well?
Excellent question.
I think that's a very important issue, and definitely that's a problem that women in all areas face. The mobility issue and starting from the awareness of the importance of their vote. I think even that is very important, that women need to be made aware of how important their vote is, and then that they are given the opportunity. Of course, in every constituency, these are things done individually, but I think that's a very important issue that you've raised, that there should be perhaps some means where women are able to go easily and cast their vote. Perhaps the location of the polling booths, perhaps special transport arranged for them, special people arranged where they can take women and get them back to their houses, things like that. I think that's a very important issue to think about.
Right, and Dr. Shezra, there's also the factor of, when we talk about gender inclusivity, there are other factors which are increasing the diversity and increasing the position of any particular individual. And there's, of course, gender and so many challenges, but there's also faith, and there's also the backgrounds and so many other factors that are impacting. And we don't know yet how many of the women that have been given the reserve seats are actually non-Muslim. And I want to know whether or not any specific measurements are being taken by different parties, including yours, for that purpose.
There are special seats for non-Muslims in all parties, I believe, and in ours as well. But as far as women are concerned, the thing is that we, as of now, we work or give quotas to women as if they were a minority also, which they are not. Women are, like we're saying, more than 50%. But apart from that, yes, inclusivity is very important. There are seats for non-Muslims. I think there should also be seats for maybe people with special needs. That's also very important. So lots of, lots of factors should be taken into consideration when keeping reserved seats. I agree with you over there.
Dr. Shezra, a very important question. As we can see that for the candidates, if they want to propagate their ideas, if they want to promote their ideas, for them, campaign is getting easier and easier with the effects of, technology. Obviously, I'm talking about social media. Domains are being used in the current circumstances, and in future it would be more enhanced, and I believe that would be more easier for female candidates to obviously promote their ideas and campaign for themselves in coming future. In that context, is PMLN as a political party already prepared about it, and if so, do they have a future sort of plan that they will be setting a mark that to this year we will have more candidates, because it would be easier for women to campaign for their election campaigns in coming future? Though we can say that even if there are different constituencies in Pakistan where the urban vote bank is around 25 to 30%, but when it comes to rural vote bank, that is a large vote bank. But still we can see that the social media outreach it has actually crossed all barriers, and even you can find in a tiniest village of Pakistan, you can find somebody carrying a mobile phone, getting in touch with its own constituency and the whole country at the same time. So is there a plan for the future?
Yes, I agree with you that social media has brought about a seismic change. I think everybody's still coming to grips with how radically the social media has changed how things work and how we operate and how we, uh, you know, do things at different levels. One of the things that PMLN has done, for example, keeping this in consideration and keeping the fact that social media is very, very effective now, is that we have launched a campaign where we have asked online for online suggestions from Pakistanis and overseas Pakistanis on things that should be included in our manifesto. So that's a campaign that was launched today. And it's going to have a wide outreach, and we're going to take in consideration all suggestions that are brought to our notice and then make our manifesto. So that's one example of how we are trying to build connectivity through social media. And other examples are also how everybody is now using social media in their homes, in rural areas also. So more people are now aware of their rights, and you can see that as you know, if you interact with people, you can see that they're more aware of their rights. So I think whichever party they vote for, that's apart from the fact, people should know what they are voting for, what do they want, and that is something that they should be made aware of. What are their needs? What do they want? And which party is in their manifesto and in their narrative, giving them those things which are important for them, the important issues that are there for them. That is something I think that awareness is extremely important for people, and that is something that is eventually going to strengthen our democracy.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shezra, for joining us
Thank
and
you very
being a
much.
part of the discussion, talking to us at length about these issues. But before we move on, Farrukh, I'd also want to take a look back at what Dr. Shezra said with regards to having a female prime minister in the country. And of course, Pakistan did see that as an accomplishment, of course, and it's being cited even now. But why is it that since then we haven't seen that? I mean, surely that would have paved the way for more women to come forward. Why is it that we haven't seen such a leader emerge?
Sana, thank you very much. This is a great question, and I, honestly, as a historian, as a student of history and political science, I really don't have a very deep answer. I just wanted to point out at that time also that even before there was Benazir Bhutto, there was Fatma Jinnah, who came very close to becoming president of the Islamic Republic. At that time also she contested election, and she contested against the country's first dictator. Having said that, the truth is, Sana, that we can keep on congratulating ourselves, but I think that this actually goes back to the character and capacity of the woman prime minister that we were talking about, right? I think that when there are people who actually, after Qaidism, when they talk about great leaders, they actually mention that Bhutto Sahib, father of that prime minister, was the greatest leader after that. I believe that Benazir Bhutto was essentially bigger than her father, because she actually fought against the system. Her father actually rose to power by actually colluding with the system. So that is one thing, and then woman as well. So and then it doesn't help that a woman is now 10 feet under, that she was killed in a terrorist attack, and after that I think that also has a chilling effect. But we still have to wait and see. I mean, for a long time I kept on hoping that one of the leading parties will actually thrust one of their girl child onto the stage, and PMLN's Mariam Nawaz was a big example. But we haven't seen that kind of, active initiatives coming from her, where she could have been a minister. I mean, of course, you can actually say that she is a family member of the Prime Minister. Perhaps that's why she shouldn't be. But then we have seen other family members actually getting the kind of limelight. And I think that a big missed opportunity was the window of time between 2013 and 18. Because no matter whether you are in power or not, you cannot escape the consequences of power. And that she saw. But I wish that she had actually taken a front seat at that time, and she would have done that. Similarly, in People's Party also, we keep on hearing about Asifa. We have only seen one speech of hers, but that was really a good speech. And I hope that in coming days, women will actually, themselves actually volunteer and ask for it. And the men will be pressured into actually accepting those women leaders. I just want to point out one very interesting thing. The Economist every year gives an award or nominates a country that has been a great example of reform. So this year, because the rest of the countries, all of the countries are more or less in shambles, they actually thought of giving an award to a fictitious country, that is Barbie Land, because they thought that women, wherever women are, they actually have a positive influence on political system, right? And then they decided it went to Greece because Greece somehow has.
But Barbie Land was great.
Yeah, but the whole idea is that at least they thought that they can give it to a construct. At least it is making the right kind of noise. So it is the best publication in the world, and it is considering on these lines.
Sana, very short comment about the leadership when it comes to women. If we talk about this particular region, of course, Jhansi Ki Rani is one of the examples who led her army and obviously fought for her land. And then later on what we see is, even the freedom struggle of Pakistan, in that, of course, women had a pivotal role to play. But now when we come towards, of course, the politicians, of course, there are certain hurdles, but still they are moving on. At the same time, we have another institution in Pakistan, that is Pakistan Army. Within Pakistan Army, there are splendid officers, female officers, who have been not only serving within the country, but of course abroad as well, in Africa, in certain other destinations. They have been serving, and they have been bringing a huge, enormous name for Pakistan when it comes to serving United Nations.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Are you trying to sell the idea of women leaders to us? We are already
We
are already converted. We know it is important, but the biggest problem is, like in India and in Pakistan, once you kill a female prime minister or leader, then you don't get many. We have an example of Indira Gandhi. How many female prime ministers have come in India? Similarly, in
Sonia Gandhi shied away.
No, she couldn't, because they kept on calling her foreigner and
Italian.
non-Hindu. So that is again another obnoxious aspect of political realities of South Asia. But earlier, when you were talking about nourishment, and now you have gone to Jhansi Ki Rani, so I thought that you are somehow trying to migrate back intellectually to India. So nourishment question,
just the regional
nourishment question is going to be has something to do with Dabur Chyawanprash or something of that sort. That didn't come.
All right, we're going to also take a look at the ECP's digitization efforts. And of course, while we hear the ECB saying that all operational IT systems are working fine, it is also important to move ahead and talk about what exactly is it that is being digitized, and whether or not the entire process is actually helping the candidates, helping the election process in itself, and the people to come forward and vote. And while we talk about this, Farrukh, there was a concern that has been raised with regards to electoral rolls not being put up and not being digitized. And the ECP officials have claimed that this is a way that they also get some sort of income, but at the same time, it is also being said that the entire process would cost much less if they would have actually done that, and plus it would have been much easier for the candidates to move forward, and it is going to be in their benefit. Why is it then these measures, even though have been talked about way before then the election process started, have not been put in place yet?
beats me. I mean, you should have
That's
done
true.
it ages ago. The biggest problem so far is that it is a state institution, and we are supposed to be, praising it, and I hope it gives us, opportunity to praise it. But on many things, it has been actually every time, there came a major milestone from date to, election schedule. It was the Supreme Court of Pakistan that had to force Election Commission to give some kind of results. And that worries me, because I think that the people who are there are very capable, but they have to start actually coming into, shaping up for the elections. And these things shouldn't be issues, right?
Yeah.
Biggest issue earlier when you were talking about women empowerment as well, and this is what I was thinking, that on the election day, women going to vote is responsibility of Election Commission. But what happens is that there are places where they are not able to vote because their jirga actually stops them. Should I not go to Supreme Court and hold Election Commission responsible if something of that happens? So these are questions, and we have to remember again another thing. We are talking about inclusivity and speak about another failure, and that is the way Shah Mahmood Qureshi was treated today, right? I mean, whatever you are doing, you have to do, police has to do it. But it could be more done more tastefully.
Yeah.
And it has created the kind of bad blood. And in the end, all questions lead to where? Election Commission.
Election Commission.
Right, absolutely. Faisal, what is your take in terms of when we talk about the automation of processes and make it accessible to voters? The ECP is saying that they're going to be taking a look into these considerations and is going to make them part of it. But that doesn't seem like a very active response to whether or not this will be incorporated. Is this an absolute necessity that can and should be done before the elections?
Oh, very true, Sana, and I would fully agree with Farrukh when it comes to, obviously, Election Commission of Pakistan. It has only one role, and that is of obviously getting towards the election and doing it in time. If
Holding elections.
Yeah, holding election in time. But if now they are talking about it that they will do it, I mean, by now these things should have been done long ago. And right now, of course, we know that Election Commission of Pakistan is obviously in a process of, delivering the, different ROs and DROs with the most important training of EMS, which is the electoral management system. And of course they will be doing it before the election, because if they do it after the election, it won't affect anything.
They have said that they've incorporated a few additional things with EMS, but Farrukh, do you think that the EMS will be successful, especially in terms of free, fair and transparent elections?
Yeah, that actually comes back to the question of our political culture. Sana, in this country, I remember back in 1990s, actually 1980s, I remember we were just talking about Mohtarma Benazir Bhutto and her, today is also her birthday.
Yeah.
But I remember a statement coming from her that some certain supercomputers have been installed in some place in Rawalpindi, and that's why elections are going to be manipulated. That was back in 1980s, when computers were not even smart enough to actually keep on putting words or numbers together. So my humble submission is that those who are going to blame the system or who are going to find fault are always going to find fault. What Election Commission has to do is at least stop dragging its feet, so that we don't get embarrassed whenever we are actually supporting it.
Right. Thank you very much, Farrukh and Faisal, for joining us, of course, as always. And we hope that we are able to see these measures taken by the ECP, and that the issues of inclusivity and free and fair elections is something that is at the core of the elections, and something that the ECP is also aligned with and is doing everything in its capacity to make sure that that will be the case in the upcoming general elections. That's all that we have from the debate today. We'll now see you tomorrow.